In 1963, the first episode of a strange new sci-fi series came out. The series captured the curiosity of its viewers, and this is all because of one actor, William Hartnell. As you can almost definitely tell, I'm talking about Doctor Who, and the first actor to play the main character, William Hartnell. Just before I get into this video, I won't be talking about the history of each Doctor's era. These videos are going to be more about the stories in each Doctor's era, and this will not reflect on my overall opinion on each Doctor, more about the stories in their respective times on the show. I like almost every Doctor. So, Hartnell was the first incarnation of the Doctor for 3 years, and the show in this time was very different. The show was finding its footing, especially considering the fact that Doctor Who was originally going to be an educational programme. This is why Ian and Barbara are school teachers, and why so many of the early show was made up of pure historical stories featuring no sci-fi elements. The original goal of the show was to be educational and instructional. You can still see elements of this throughout the show's early years. The stories throughout this era are a mix of old pulp sci-fi, unexpected character growth, and no alien historicals. This is an interesting mix, and is something that the classic era stopped doing after Hartnell's time on the show. Now, what I'm going to say is probably going to be considered heresy for certain Doctor Who fans, but I think every Doctor Who story before 1975 has pacing issues. The standard length in this time was 6 parts, and I feel like so many of these stories could fit into 4 or maybe even less parts. In my opinion, this problem existed throughout a lot of the early years of the show, and wouldn't be fixed until the early mid-70s. This issue for me makes William Hartnell's time as the Doctor the hardest to come back to. However, Hartnell's performance as the Doctor is the saving grace of this era for me, and is one of the reasons the show became so popular in the first place. The combination of stiff, upper lip coldness in the face of his enemies, but with an air of mischief, sows the seed for so many future actors to take on the role. Now, I'm going to tell you my least favourite story from the Hartnell era, and my favourite. So, let's get into that. Favourite: The Chase. The Doctor and his companions learn from the time-space visualizer that the Daleks, who now have their own time machine, are trying to capture them with orders to exterminate them. The Daleks chase the Doctor and his friends all across time and space, with some interesting stops along the way. I love this story and find it to perfectly capture the energy of the show brilliantly. This is one of the great stories to prove that the TARDIS really can go anywhere and anywhen, from a spooky haunted house to the alien jungle of the planet Mechanus. If there ever were to be a Doctor Who movie, I'd want it to have this kind of plot, a real romp around time and space. Least favourite: The Gunfighters. When the first Doctor, Stephen and Dodo, arrive in the town of Tombstone in 1881, the Doctor's only aim is to find a dentist. Adamant that they should only stay a night in Tombstone, the Doctor finds their stay prolonged when he inevitably becomes involved with a group of gunmen out to kill Doc Holliday. Now, you're probably saying, but Noah, a Doctor Who Western must be good. And to that I'd say, it isn't. This story is one of the examples of the show's leftover educational elements. But frankly, I don't enjoy this story and find it to drag on, despite the 4-episode run, which is actually shorter than a lot of stories around this time. And don't get me started on the weird musical segments.
With rings on their fingers and bells on their toes, the girls come to Tombstone in their high silk hose. They'll dance on the tables or...
Hartnell left the role in 1966. In the story, the 10th planet is failing health, causing the older actor difficulties like remembering his lines and doing the more physical elements of the part. However, This wouldn't be the last time Hartnell would appear as the Doctor. He would reprise his role in 1973 for the story The Three Doctors. At this time, the actor's age and health prevented him from having a major part in the story, so he only appears on the TARDIS monitor in a motivational role. The actor would unfortunately pass away on the 23rd of April 1975 at the age of just 67. Despite Hartnell's death, the First Doctor would continue to pop up in Doctor Who stories. In 1983, during the show's 20th anniversary, the actor Richard Hurndall would play the First Doctor in the story The Five Doctors. Hurndall plays a very different Doctor to Hartnell, leaning into the more grandfather, old man nature of the character. The Five Doctors would be the only time Richard Hurndall would play the First Doctor, because he would unfortunately pass away on the 13th of April 1984. The next actor to play the First Doctor would be David Bradley. Bradley would play William Hartnell in the film An Adventure in Space and Time, a film showing the early years of the show. After this performance, fans really wanted to see Bradley in Doctor Who as the First Doctor. So, fans got what they wished for in December of 2017 when David Bradley appeared as the First Doctor. Bradley's performance as the First Doctor is brilliant, sticks very close to Hartnell's way of performing the role. Bradley still plays the First Doctor in the show, appearing as recently as The Power of the Doctor. Even though, at the time, Doctor Who was thought of as a kids' show, I feel like so many different actors, writers and directors wanted to do so much more with the show. During these early years, there are stories that really push the boundary of what family entertainment is capable of. I think Hartnell's ability to make the Doctor such a presence throughout these stories really adds to this sense of the show being more than it was. So, there we are. William Hartnell, a brilliant performer and the first actor to play the Doctor, and sparked a fire which led to the greatest sci-fi series ever. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe if you enjoyed and want to see more content in future.